Hey, hey, hey. Happy Monday. Come on in. Pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, 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 gang. Welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host, here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch, brought to you by, incredibly enough, thegaminggang.com, of which I happen to be the founder and editor-in-chief. Welcome aboard. Tonight is Monday, October 10th, 2022. This is live stream 835. This is your first time joining me. Let me point out, super casual around here. We're just hanging out, talking about the latest in tabletop gaming news, and then taking a look at a tabletop game. Now, all throughout October, we are taking a look at role-playing games on every episode. And many of these episodes, I'm reviewing games, not just sharing first looks. And that is the case tonight, because I'm going to share my review and do a little bit of a page through the adventure book for Dune, Adventures in the Imperium, Agents of Dune, from Modiphius Entertainment. So if you are tuning in to check this out, kick back, relax. So that's something else I do want to point out. We tackle the tabletop gaming news first around here. So if you are tuning in for the Agents of Dune review, just relax, take a break, take it easy on yourself, and we will get on into that review in about 30 to 35 minutes. That is, if you're watching live. If you're watching 30 minutes or more after this stream ends, well, then you're in luck, because there will be timestamps. Those timestamps are located in the show notes, or depending on the device you happen to be watching this on, might actually be right in the timeline of the video. So you can click on those and jump right past the gaming news if you would like. Although I got to admit, we got some cool stuff tonight I'm going to be talking about. All righty. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more that you won't find here on the YouTube channel. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Lastly, it's a live stream, so that means there is chat available. It's not on screen. It's one of the ways I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. But if you've been a member, if you're a subscriber, I should say member. I don't have any of that weird YouTube stuff going on where it's like, you get to pay and be a member. No. If you happen to be a subscriber to the channel for at least 48 hours, you can take part in chat. So it's another way that I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. Of course, if you have a question, comment, maybe you just want to say howdy, chime in. I will do my best to respond. First out the gate tonight, the Motor City Madman himself. That's right. The Madman, one of our chat moderators, or as we like to refer to the Madman on October nights around here, Mr. Halloween, is with us. Jason Bratley and Flaming Huron. What is with me tonight? It's English, Jeff. It's not that difficult. It's English. So we have Madman, Flaming Huron, another of our chat moderators from across the pond, and Jason Bratley in chat, not in chat. I'm sober, I swear. I see, look at that. It's like, what's going on, man? It's like I've been recording episodes of the Gaming Gang October Spooktacular just a little while ago, and maybe my voice is just, maybe my mind's going. I don't know. Coco B is hanging out with us as well. Wishing everybody a very happy Canadian Thanksgiving. Well, thank you, and happy Canadian Thanksgiving to you as well. All righty then, let's jump on into the news because I've got a nice eclectic mix for us this time out. Arriving next month from Fireside Games is the second edition of Castle Panic. Here's the skinny. It may be hard to believe that Castle Panic first made its appearance on game tables almost 13 years ago in September of 2009. Since then, it's been an amazing journey filled with adventures and stories as we've added to the world with 3 expansions and 3 variations. Should point out, this press release did come out, I think in late August. So that's why it says almost 13 years ago in September of 2009. Just so you know, I do realize that it would be more than 13 years. After all those battles, the time has come to update everyone's favorite cooperative tower defense board game. We are incredibly proud to announce the upcoming release of Castle Panic 2nd Edition. The entire Castle Panic line is getting all new, bright, colorful art, a wide variety of diverse characters, and a few updates to make the game even smoother. It's still the same great cooperative game that players have loved for over a decade with a fresh new look. Castle Panic is the best-selling, award-winning cooperative tower defense game, and it's back with a brand new look. Work together to play cards and slay advancing monsters while conditions on the field of battle change. Slay all 49 monsters and have at least one of your 6 towers standing to win. The new 2nd edition includes all new art, a custom die, and heavier card stock. Changes to the board and cards improve readability for colorblind players. Castle Panic 2nd edition is for 1 to 6 players ages 8 and up. Plays in around 45 minutes. It's going to carry an MSRP of $39.99 when it hits stores on November 30th. Thereabouts. Once again, can't always be certain on exact release dates these days. You know how it's going. I should also mention, I could have sworn that the Fireside Games website is actually offering the 2nd edition for $34.95. So keep that in mind as well. So you can actually save a few bucks off of the MSRP. I got to be honest, I have really only played Castle Panic once. I don't own it. My best friend Elliott, who I'll talk about a little bit later after the news, he had a copy, and that's how I had an opportunity to play. It's a fun game, especially for the family. I think it's not too shabby. It's actually got enough challenge to it, so it's not as if you're going to win it every time you play, which I actually appreciate quite a bit. 245 Trioxin is with us in chat. Welcome aboard, 245. Next April's going to see the release of Tiny Epic Vikings from Gamelyn Games. Here's what I know. In the frigid runic isles of the North Sea, the Vikings reign supreme. These determined explorers navigate the icy fjords, build fertile settlements upon rocky crags, and fight for the glory of their clans with blood and steel. Only the gods stand above them, and it is every Viking's dream to serve their god in the afterlife, Valhalla. Tiny Epic Vikings is a fast-playing 1 to 4 player strategy game of drafting, area control, and set collection. In Tiny Epic Vikings, players lead a clan of Vikings over 3 eras in hopes of claiming the icy lands for their own. They play Viking cards that represent their clan's leaders, choosing the best builders, harvesters, explorers, and warriors. Raid and conquer the islands with settlers, build boats and temples to gain influence, and battle for the favor of the gods. Tiny Epic Vikings, once again, is for 1 to 4 players. It's for ages 14 and up, plays around 30 to 60 minutes, and will carry an MSRP of $30 when it arrives in April of next year. Another of the Tiny Epic lineup of games. I talked to my pal Michael Coe of Gamelyn Games at Gen Con. We did talk a little bit about Tiny Epic Vikings as well. This was a Kickstarter. It was, once again, another very successful Kickstarter for Gamelyn Games. I think it ended, was it July? I think it wrapped up in July. There are still late pledges available, or I think it's on backer kit, to be honest. You can still get the Kickstarter price of $25 for the standard edition if you'd like to pre-order it. Otherwise, if you're just going to wait for it to hit stores, once again, carries an MSRP of $30. The Madman says they're really looking forward to getting their Kickstarter copy of Tiny Epic Vikings. Yes, I know the Madman is a fan of the Tiny Epic lineup of games. 245 Triaxon also pointed out that they think Castle Panic leads to some quarterbacking from some folks. Don't a lot of games, though? Well, let's be honest. I mean, and I got to be honest, I have been over the years in situations where we were playing a multiplayer game and it was, something cooperative in that. And I was playing with players who really didn't have an idea of what they wanted to do. So sometimes, kind of had to give them some ideas on how to tackle things. So yes, it is quarterbacking, but I guarantee you Castle Panic is not the only game out there which often leads to quarterbacking. All right, so I was just talking about how Tiny Epic Vikings was a very successful Kickstarter. Speaking of a different sort of Kickstarter, there's a project currently running to bring a history of the fighting fantasy books to the masses. Here's the dope on You Are the Hero, 40th Anniversary Edition. The first 2 You Are the Hero books covered everything from how Steve Jackson, not that Steve Jackson, not the Steve Jackson who, well, it's not him personally. It's a game company that I don't talk about. We're talking English Steve Jackson and Sir Ian Livingstone met at school. The founding of Games Workshop in 1975. The publication of the first fighting fantasy game book, The Warlock of Firetop Mountain, in 1982. And how the fighting fantasy books grew to become a global brand, right through to the reimagining of the original adventures as iPhone apps and the 35th anniversary celebrations in 2017 that culminated with the publication of Sir Ian Livingstone's The Port of Peril by Scholastic UK. This new 40th anniversary edition will combine material from the first 2 out-of-print volumes with chapters covering the years from 2017 to 2022, completing the 40-year history of fighting fantasy game books. On top of that, it will be structured in a similar way to a game book. As well as reading it through from cover to cover, you'll be able to jump between chapters and paragraphs depending on the options offered in the text. And to make it fully interactive, the PDF copy of the book will be completely hyperlinked. I got to be honest, I would have shared a video for the Kickstarter. There is a short one. Unfortunately, they're playing music that will get me a copyright flag. So can't share that. So I'm just sharing some images. Do want to mention you can reserve a copy of the soft cover book for a $39 pledge, or just grab the ebook, the PDF, for a $12 pledge. And those pledges are open through November 7th. And this is fully funded. I believe it funded within the, I want to say, first couple of hours that it was live. It just went live last week. My pal Scott Weigel, who I went to high school with, is here with us in chat. It's been a while since we've seen Scott hanging out. Stray Kismet and William Hell Has Eyes are with us as well. So welcome aboard, everybody. Got a pretty good chat kicking off already for a lazy Monday night football Monday. Not that I'm not going to watch it. A little did a little football betting yesterday and got clobbered. So I'm like, I'm not watching tonight. The latest Dungeon Crawl Classics Lankhmar adventure is available in print and PDF. Here's the latest on Treachery in the Beggar City. A level 3 Dungeon Crawl Classics adventure set in Lankhmar. Steel flashes in dark alleys and over filth-strewn canals in the beggar city of Tavalis. I'm not familiar with that. Okay. Word is spread that the location of a secret treasure vault belonging to Tavalis' old ruler has been discovered. What untold riches await the first to plunder the hidden hoard? The adventurers must compete with other rivals, including masked assassins, sinister sorcerers, and the agents of the beggar city's noble houses, to be the first to breach the potentate's private treasury. Can the adventurers overcome their rivals and the cunning traps of a long-dead ruler? Or will they become just another set of corpses floating in Tavalis' stinking canals come morning? Only keen blades and crafty minds will prevail against treachery in the beggar city. Adventure in the beggar city of Tavalis, home to decadent nobles, sinking buildings, and under the thumb of Lankhmar's military. Defeat cunning traps left to defend a merchant king's vast treasury and the resting place of the legendary Scrolls of Night. This double-sized adventure includes an entire section detailing Tavalis, including rules for carousing the beggar city. I don't know. How much carousing could you do in a beggar city? And also rules for creating Dungeon Crawl Classics Lankhmar characters born among its canals and winding streets. The 36-page softcover PDF, I should say with PDF, carries an MSRP of $9.99, or you can grab just the PDF alone over at DriveThruRPG for $6.99. Always glad to see new Dungeon Crawl Classics or Lankhmar adventures come out. I don't know how many adventures they have released for Empire of the East yet, but this is the 13th of the, well, I guess we would say licensed through the estate of Fritz Leiber adventures for Dungeon Crawl Classics Lankhmar. So very nice, very nice. Should also mention on a side note, I am looking for a dedicated Goodman Games reviewer. Yes, you heard that correctly. I am in the market for someone who's going to review Dungeon Crawl Classics, as well as Mutant Crawl Classics, Lankhmar, so on and so forth, PDFs, and provide written reviews. So if you're interested, reach out to me before I put that info out on probably Twitter, probably tweet it out as well. So I know Scott's talking about the Gamers Guild, which was the club we belonged to in high school. Yes, we were in the Gamers Guild, and I'm trying to remember the club that was just Dungeons and Dragons. I always forget the name of it. I don't know. I always forget. It was something. It was like guild. It was another guild as well. So there is some discussion of Fighting Fantasy. I have not checked out Fighting Fantasy. I remember the Create Your Own Adventure books, but I have not actually checked out fighting fantasy. I did check out the app when the app came out. I did take a peek at that. I think it was Sorcery, they called it. I think it was Steve Jackson and even Ian Livingstone's Sorcery. And I think it was 3 parts. So I checked out the first one. I thought it was kind of cool. Scott says that they forgot the name of the other club on purpose. Yes, because it was run by Mike Nistall, who I have mentioned before, that there are a couple of D&D spells that are actually named after him, although he is persona non grata in the gaming industry these days. Okay, let's move on to our last news piece, because there is a new... Why is that image just sitting there? We go. I was going to say, how long is that image just sitting there? It's like change to show the cool map. There's a new Japanese style role-playing game, which is hot over at DriveThruRPG right now. Here's the details on Fabula Ultima from Need Games. Need Games is actually out of Italy, just so you know. This is your world. This is your story. Make a choice and fight for what you believe in. Fabula Ultima is a tabletop role-playing game inspired by Japanese-style console RPGs, or what's known as JRPGs. In Fabula Ultima, you and your friends will tell epic stories of would-be heroes and fearsome villains set in fantasy worlds brimming with magic, wondrous locations, and uniquely bizarre monsters. Create your own setting together with 3 different styles as reference. Your group can freely shape the worlds as they wish, including powerful kingdoms, small villages, major historical events, and the people who inhabit these lands. It includes a simple and intuitive rule set that evokes both gameplay and atmospheres from the most beloved JRPGs, all while encouraging players to proactively set goals and influence the story. No choice is without consequence. There's a bestiary filled with monsters, demons, beasts, and more. From simple encounters to deadly bosses, our heroes will face many challenges. There are 15 classes to mix and match in order to create your favorite heroes. Inspired by video games, this modular growth system lets you design deep and unique characters. Choose your group type and embark on great adventures. Everything the Game Master needs to set the scene and accompany the group through marvelous, larger-than-life adventures is included. Advice, guidelines, and all the tools required to bring the hero's dark mirrors on stage. The villains. The 360 full-color pages are beautifully illustrated by professional artists from all over the world. Right now, you can score that 360-page PDF over at DriveThruRPG for $17.90. I gotta say, I am hearing a lot of people jumping on board this. So, well, just think how popular Japanese role-playing games are. I mean, you know, you got the Final Fantasy, yeah, tons of stuff. So I could see that. I could honestly see that. And this looks pretty impressive. Artwork looks pretty nice as well, and clocks in at 360 pages. So, by all means, give it a peek if you're interested. All right, that is it for the news tonight. Of course, I was just talking about DriveThruRPG. Don't forget, the Gaming Gang, thus the Dispatch, is affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you are going to visit, say, DriveThruRPG, please stop by thegaminggang.com first. Click on one of our banner ads. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get a small portion of that sale. And all those nickels, dimes, and quarters really do add up and help keep thegaminggang.com around. Also, if you like this video, besides smashing the like button, you can always do that. That always helps. If you dig the channel, if you find thegaminggang.com to be a valuable resource, hell, if you just like what we do, you can always go over to paypal.me/thegaminggang and making a small donation. And there are plenty of people out there who use both the banners and paypal.me. And thank you very kindly, everybody. All righty. So Scott Weagle's asking, better than Bushido? Oh, I gotta be honest. The Fabula Ultima strikes me as being more along the lines of like computer role-playing games, the Japanese computer role-playing games, the stuff you see on like Sega, as opposed to being a traditional Japanese, mythology and things like that. All right. So William says they'd like to see a Lone Wolf and Cub style game. I got to be honest. I could have swore that there was a role-playing game a few years back, or at least a role-playing game supplement that tackled that manga. Maybe not, but I kind of swore I seem to remember that. All righty. So we are going to get into my review of Agents of Dune in just a couple of moments. I keep wanting to say Agents of Doom. So far, so good. I haven't done it, but every time I say it, I hear this like a little spark in my brain goes off saying, oh, you almost said Doom. You almost said Doom. Mr. Eddie T is popping on into chat. Good to see ya, Mr. Eddie T. And I assume we probably have Sarah D floating around as well, lurking in the background, perhaps. All right, so before I get into the review, a few things I did want to mention. First off, I want to send out good well wishes to my best friend, Elliott Miller, who has been under the weather. He is just, it's like one thing after another. And unfortunately, it's like COVID set it all off. So he had COVID not too long ago. And all these other, now he got through that. It's about a week, 10 days, something like that. And then all these other things are rearing their ugly heads that his doctor has told him is because of COVID. COVID kind of, kick things in gear. So I'm hoping he's feeling better. I had talked to him last week and just wanted to publicly send out a get well wish to him as well. All right. So if you were not hanging out on the Gaming Gang channel over the weekend, you missed out on a good many reviews that have popped up. In fact, if you didn't know, all throughout the month of October, each and every day, a new review is being featured at thegaminggang.com. So, of course, obviously enough, tonight I'm reviewing Agents of Dune. So that counts as today's review. But I reviewed Into the Bronze, which is from Lantern's Fawn. And they actually just tweeted out that they were going to give the first 99 of the Gaming Gang's followers 20% off on the PDF. So there is that to celebrate the review. I thought that was kind of cool. So I thought this was pretty decent. I mean, it's not perfect. I talk about it, but I thought it was pretty good, pretty interesting. Then I've got Best Left Buried Deeper I reviewed, which is, it's actually a compilation of the Crypt Digger's Guide to Survival, the Doomsayer's Guide to Horror, I almost said monsters, but the third one is the Hunter's Guide to Monsters. So it's all three of those books in one hardcover. And it's also available as a bundle over on DriveThruRPG. Also, dug this, liked it quite a bit, especially for those of you out there who are looking for a little bit of a dark fantasy rules light role-playing game. So, and into like dungeon delving and things like that. And then yesterday I shared my review of the Castles and Crusades, Monsters and Treasure Book, which I pointed out a few times already. Really digging Castles and Crusades. It's a lot of fun. I'm really enjoying going through these books and doing the reviews. So we've got all of that cooking. I will talk about what's coming up the rest of the week as well after we finish up my review of Agents of Dune. But before we get into that review, I do want to mention, I think it's time for a brief intermission.
Coffee and it's not Wilkins. Doesn't that coffee taste kind of flat?
Whether you're a 4-step bowler or a 5-step bowler, doesn't make much difference if you knock down the pins.
But when it comes to brewing beer, there is a difference of opinion that really matters. You see, some brewers believe in making two kinds of beer. One beer for the tap.
And a different beer for bottles. And cans.
But not Milwaukee's favorite, Blatz. Blatz makes just one great draft brewed beer. Some goes into Blatz kegs for the tap, and the same great draft brewed beer goes into Blatz bottles and cans. That way, you always get real draft brewed pleasure from bottle, can, or tap.
I'm from Milwaukee, and I ought to know. It's draft brewed Blatz beer wherever you go.
Smoother, fresher,
less spilling, that's clear.
Blatz is Milwaukee's finest beer.
Milwaukee's favorite, too, Blatz. It's draft brewed.
You know, it doesn't matter if you take 4 steps or 5 steps when you bowl. See, now that comes from a time when professional bowling was on TV and was probably a relatively big deal. In the world nowadays, nobody cares how many steps you take. You can take 20 as long as you don't go over that line. That's it. And yes, Wontkins lives. All right, tonight I am going to be sharing my review of Dune, Adventures in the Imperium, Agents of Dune from Modiphius Entertainment. It's written by Andrew Peregrine, Rachel Cruz, Mari Takuda, and Peter Wright. This box set is available right now. It carries an MSRP of $81, or you can grab just the PDF over at DriveThruRPG for $20. And there's a reason why you've got that $81 price tag. We will talk about that as well. So let's swing on over to the other camera, because here I've got at least the adventure book for Agents of Dune. And we're going to dive in and start taking a look at this in just a moment. Do want to point out a few things. First off, the fine folks over at Modiphius Entertainment were kind enough to provide me with the box set for Agents of Dune, but neither I nor anyone else affiliated with the gaming gang has received any other sort of compensation for me to share this review with you. Of course, these days, it's important that you know that. I'll also be picture in picture up here. So that means I'll probably be cutting off a little bit of the upper left portion of the adventure book as we take a peek through. I also have a manual focus lens on the camera, the overhead camera tonight. So you won't see me lifting stuff up to get a closer look at, because I already did a first look video a while back where we took a peek at everything that's in this box set. Took pretty close look at everything. So most people are going to be really curious about this adventure campaign, and I will be talking about that. Keep in mind, this is an adventure campaign. I'm going to keep this pretty spoiler free. It'll be pretty easy for me to keep this spoiler free. But if you are a player and you're hoping your game master is going to run Agents of Dune, you might want to tune out now. I mean, there's over 1,800 videos on this channel. Go check one out. Omanel's with us in chat asking, is this different than the box set? No, it is not. Because that's the box. But I figured, I've already did the unboxing. We did a first look. We did a page through, all that other stuff. So I'm just going to quickly go over some of the other items. Then we'll dive into the adventure book. So taking a look at the back here, I'm just going to share a little bit of this. Your house is to become the new governor of Arrakis in an alternate what-if scenario where you must ensure the supply of the vital spice melange to the known universe. Yes, that's right. The spice must flow. With the eyes of the entire Imperium watching your every move, can you retain control of the treasure of Arrakis, or will this appointment spell the destruction of your house? Well, you're going to find out. That is for certain. Okay, so I'm going to put this off to the side for a sec. So Omanal pointed out that they can read the dice, so it's nicely focused. Cool deal. And I got to be honest, I'm surprised you can read these dice because these aren't really well inked and they are not very deeply cut. So I do like the design, although I've seen this color combo before as like a sherbet or something like that. Scott says, Jeff actually said quickly. Yeah, okay. Well, quickly, in terms of the gaming gang. Not quickly in terms of like anybody else. So anyway, do want to point that out. The dice are okay, but nothing really to write home about. I wish they had been deeper cut and just better inked. They just look kind of cheap. That's all. Okay. We've got a bunch of handouts. We have a bunch of different items here. We've got dossiers for the pre-generated characters. Also should mention that in the adventure book, there is a code for a PDF of the core rules for Dune Adventures in the Imperium. That is one of the reasons why the MSRP of the box set, I believe, is $81. Or I should say, I believe that's one of the reasons why the MSRP is $81. I know the MSRP is $81. Coco B says those dice look spicy. William points out they have the original Dune board game. Ah, good old Avalon Hill. So Flaming Heron says they actually prefer the color scheme as far as readability. Oh, I like the color scheme. It's just, maybe your dice are better inked than mine. They're just really lightly inked. That's all. So William says Harkonnen are badass. And they are in this. They are in this as well. Okay. So one thing about this box set that I don't think Modiphius Entertainment is really making obvious is this is a starter set for Dune. That's what this is. This is their starter set. This is their starter box, beginner box, whatever you want to consider it. And that was not readily apparent when it was sent to me. I thought, oh, okay, so this is an adventure supplement campaign for Dune Adventures in the Imperium. And it is, but it's actually designed so that you can actually open this box up and start playing. And there are good aspects to that, and there are cons to that as well, which I'll discuss. So one of the first things that your players are going to do is they're going to read this because it's actually addressed to them. As I read off the back of the box, your players are going to be characters for a noble house, and they are actually replacing House Atreides from the book. So you can either take the pre-generated characters, and there are 5, and use them for House Nagara, and use that house. You choose what the specialty of that house is. We'll talk about that a little bit. But you can also take that PDF of the core rules, roll up characters, and create your own house. So there is that option as well, which I really think is very, very cool. So your players are going to read this because, as I mentioned, they're essentially replacing House Atreides. So it's now your characters and their house that are the main protagonists of Dune. And I thought that is really, really well done. So we have these cool dossiers for each of the pre-gens with a breakdown. Now, this does use Modiphius's in-house system, which is their 2D20, although it is a lighter weight, kind of slimmed down version of the rules. And there is discussion of how to play, and on the back of each of the dossiers is essentially a player's aid that breaks down a lot of the core concepts of the game, which I will talk about when we start taking a look at the adventure book. So we have the 5 pre-gens. So we've got a couple of nobles. We have a Bene Gesserit. We've got a negotiator, and we have kind of a combat-focused character as well. So those are your 5 pre-gens. If your characters, or your players, I should say, are rolling up their own characters and creating their own house, you could also use these as important NPCs. Just, kind of change this stuff out. William says they have 0 interest in this game. Good luck finding people who will play it. I have no idea what William's talking about because this is actually done extremely well. So just pointing that out. Personally, don't really care about your opinion on that. All right. Anyway, moving right along. We've got a variety of decks of cards that are included. So we have cards of each of the characters. So we got the 5 pre-gens. We've got important NPCs. And on the back are all the stats that the Game Master is going to need. So these are very nice because you can utilize these to show your players, oh, this is what the NPC looks like. And of course, you've got all the pertinent information on the back as well. Plus, there are some standees in the box, and you can utilize those for placement as far as where are the characters at. And there are dueling and negotiation boards, effectively, that you can use those as well. So Christopher Rush is with us in chat. Says they've got 3 players who are absolutely pumped for this Dune game. Gonna run it in December. Sweet. All right. So also have some other NPCs throughout. We have cards for conditions, shaken and injured. And it just basically tells the players, what does that condition do for you? We have some different cards here based on the results of what the player characters do, or results of some of their roles and things like that, which I thought was kind of unusual. We've got some kind of faceless NPCs here, but basically what we're looking at are their stats. We have some cards here for gear or assets as they're known as in the game itself. So these are items that the player characters are trying to get their hands on. So we've got those, and then we've got different gear. So we've got different equipment in that. The images here. And then, of course, the pertinent game information and flavor text right here as well. And then these are also some additional assets that the player characters can have. So one of the things in the actual rules for Dune, Adventures in the Imperium, is momentum. And momentum is spent on different things. And in combat, you can spend momentum to create assets that you have available to you. It's actually kind of interesting how it's done. I have run across stuff like that in the past where it's sort of like, oh, well, you use your bennies to provide yourself with equipment and things like that. Oh, yes, I've got this. Christopher says, I love how cards to hand to the players are really growing in popularity of late. I agree. I like that a lot. I like it more for the fact of being able to share what something looks like, especially when you're dealing with like monsters and things like that, rather than having to bring like a tablet with you or your laptop or printing stuff out. You just have the cards and you go, oh yeah, okay, so these creatures come up and this is what they look like. Unfortunately, a lot of times they tell you right on the front of the card what it is, which I prefer my players not to know. You know, when they're first starting to play, if they're goblins, well, they're going to find out later what a goblin is, but I don't want it like right on a card. So we also have this brochure about Arrakis. It's kind of cool. We have our momentum tracker here, as well as threat, which is something that the game master uses. We have a spice harvesting tracker, a bunch of tokens that you can utilize, some handouts for the players, as well as I mentioned before, we've got the dueling map, as well as a negotiation map. And then lastly, we have a location map for the planet surface and a breakdown of one of the adventure areas. So there's a lot of stuff in this box, but the most important thing is the adventure book. And as I mentioned before, the adventure book is provided and presented to just jump right in and play. So just to kind of give you an idea, a lot of artists involved in this, and I got to be honest, if I read all of their names, I would be butchering at least half of them. So those are all the artists here that worked on this. Artwork throughout is very, very nice. Very cool, pretty uniform too. Some parts of the adventure you get to and sort of run out of artwork, right? We'll go through like a few pages where there's absolutely no art. Okay. So Flaming Heron says, spoilers be incoming. I'm going to try to keep this as spoiler free as I possibly can. So as I mentioned, your players are going to have a house, which is replacing House Atreides, essentially in the plot line of Dune, the first novel in Frank Herbert's series. There are a lot of aspects that can be tweaked to this adventure as well. So right off the bat, anybody who's playing this who is familiar with Dune, as soon as they hear that, you know, they have to deal with House Harkonnen, they're gonna be like, oh, no way, you know, we know something's going to be up. They're going to betray us. They're villains. We know that's, it's obvious, right? So, of course, you've got your player info and your character info. But there are some different options in here that I thought were very cool, such as House Nagara is already an ally of House Harkonnen. So there really shouldn't be too much conflict on the surface. So I thought that was kind of cool. You can also tweak it where your house is not necessarily taking over the spice production on Arrakis. They're taking over like a franchise of spice production. So they're going to actually work together with House Harkonnen. Else says every house would backstab you in Dune. Yeah, of course. That's part of the game. That's part of the setting as well. But what I'm saying is that most players who are familiar with Dune are going to right away be assuming, okay, House Harkonnen's going to, kill us all. They're going to do something. So there are ways to kind of flip the script a little bit with that. Now, I'm not saying that House Harkonnen's going to be good guys at all. I am just mentioning that there are ways for you to kind of tweak things so that the players aren't just constantly sitting there expecting the worst from House Harkonnen. So this is designed to just open up and start reading. So if you are a novice game master, it's going to actually walk you through the process of the various different encounters and scenes and resolutions throughout the 2D20 system within the adventure itself. So you're going to start off with some set pieces that are actually simulations. And effectively, the 2D20 system is relatively easy to wrap your head around. I know there are more complex versions of it with the various different games from Modiphius Entertainment that uses it, but this is a bit more lightweight. So what you're going to do is, let's just take one of our characters here. Now, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to read this or see this, but you're going to have drives, you're going to have skills, you're going to have focuses. So the drives are your motivation. So you can have anywhere from, I want to say it's 5. No, it's 4 to 8. So anywhere from 4 to 8. And then you also have skills. So what you end up doing is you add together your skill and your drive, and that becomes a target number. So let's say it was something with Jiro Nagara, and it had to do with power and movement. So these drives are duty, faith, justice, power, truth. How driven are you for these various different aspects? And then you'll have statements for the characters as well. So for duty, the statement is repay what you owe. Faith gives me certainty where others doubt. So it's usually just a short sentence that kind of not only provides some role-playing focus, but also kind of also gives you a way that you would utilize these drives with the game master when they were going to ask you to, roll dice for a situation or a resolution of some sort. So then you got skills: battle, communicate, discipline, move, understand. Move is kind of your all-in-one strength, endurance, athleticism sort of thing. So let's say, as just an example, Jiro has a challenge where it's going to use the power and move, which are his lowest. He's kind of a bookworm character, and he's not really that interested in acquiring power. So it's an 8. So in the 2D20 system, what you would do is you're rolling 2 20-sided dice. You're looking to roll equal to or lower than that target number, which is 4 and 4, 8. So we would get a 1, which is a critical success. That's cool. And then I actually roll an 8. So all in all, that would be 3 successes. Now, depending on the complexity of what you're trying to accomplish, you may only have need of 1 success, or you may need multiple successes. So this would actually count as 3 because the critical counts as 2. Now, you also have focuses, and these focuses are within your skills. So as an example here, Hiro has etiquette as a focus in understand. So if there was a challenge that somehow would utilize etiquette, maybe it's some sort of a social challenge, then what you do is when you roll your dice, if they have a focus, every success, which was 1 here, a 4 and 11, let's say it was a 10, just off the top of her head. Any success under a focus counts as 2 successes. That's kind of the main gist of the mechanics of the 2D20 system. Of course, there's combat and there's all these different options and things like that as well. And we'll talk a little bit about momentum and threat. So anyway, so we get into the adventure here, and this is all read aloud, which, let's be very honest, read aloud is boring for a lot of people. So if you are an experienced game master, you're going to want to read the entire adventure first so you know what's going on, and that way you can paraphrase different things. So the read aloud is kind of a negative with the adventure because there's just so much of it. And it's not just early on when you're learning the system itself, which I do think is really, really cool, that the players are introduced to these various different mechanics of the game through playing it right off the bat. Now, of course, if you want to delve deeper into why are these rules the way they are, you've got that PDF of the core book, so you can grab that. That is one thing that the adventure book really does not do, is it does not get into a lot of detail about the whys of these systems, as opposed to this is just how it is. All right, moving right along, you'll see we also have some little sidebars that kind of discuss like handing out cards to the players as well. One thing about Dune Adventures in the Imperium to keep in mind is this is more a narrative storytelling game than some of the other 2D20 games that Modiphius Entertainment has released. There's pretty much going from scene to scene throughout. And early on, the player characters will find themselves traveling to the Harkonnens' homeworld to undergo some training before they arrive on Arrakis. So the Harkonnens are actually training your house to replace them on Arrakis. So if you are familiar with Dune, you already know the whole background of why House Atreides was awarded that contract to run the, well, they weren't really, it wasn't really awarded to them. It was thrust upon them because they really didn't want it. All right. So we get a lot of cool stuff going on, and it's not exactly how the book or the movies play out as well. So there is variation. There's variation from what's going on, but anybody who's familiar with the beats within the novel especially will really feel right at home once the player characters find themselves on Arrakis. Tessie Trekkie has joined us as well. Stray Kismet says, if Wayne June from Darkest Dungeon, I wouldn't mind to read aloud. I'm a fan of Darkest Dungeon. I like that game a lot. I am hoping this second one, I have not gotten on board the early access. I'm hoping this second Darkest Dungeon lives up to the original. Tessie Trekkie says, oh, I love this idea. What is it for? Dune? Yes. Dun, 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 dun. It is Agents of Dune. Okay, so the adventure, all in all, I like it. I do like it quite a lot. Of course, I would not utilize all this read aloud by any stretch of the imagination. But I honestly think that this is a blueprint for the approach companies should take when adapting established media to a role-playing game. I really dig what Modiphius Entertainment has done with this as well. So, oh, and you just saw the little code for the PDF of the core rule book. Don't bother. It's already been downloaded. So all in all, I think this box set is really, really well presented. Everything is top notch outside of kind of the dice. I know Flaming Heron said they're a fan. I'm not such a big fan of the dice, but everything else, all the handouts, the tokens, really, really well done. Now, as far as the adventure itself, as far as this product itself, as I mentioned, this is supposed to be kind of a starter set for Dune Adventures in the Imperium. And in many ways, I think it succeeds tremendously in what it sets out to do. But I got to mention, I don't necessarily see this as a product that's aimed at new game masters. So if you are someone who is brand new to the hobby, this probably isn't going to fit as well with you as you think it might, because there's a lot of just presentation. There isn't a lot of approach of, well, this is how you do things. This is how you run a role-playing game. Now, there's more of that information in the core book to some extent. But even though this is a starter set, this is aimed at players and game masters who have some experience in the hobby. Also should mention, the adventure is absolutely linear. It is a railroad all the way. But the reality is, most scene-based storytelling games, well, this isn't a storytelling game, but it's more of a storytelling RPG. Those tend to be very linear because you are going from point A to point B to point C because you are playing through the adventure. So there is not a lot of free reign for the players to kind of branch out and do their own thing. So that is important to keep in mind. But that is how Dune Adventures in the Imperium is designed. So it's not just Agents of Dune that's linear. Everything I've seen, and I haven't seen a ton, I've seen a couple of the adventures, the shorter adventures that are out in PDF, also kind of the same, kind of very linear as well. So Flaming Heron points out, well, it is short enough that you can't be given too much room for deviation. Oh yeah, I'm really not knocking it for being linear. I just think it's important that people out there know. So this is not a, no pun intended, sandbox game based on Dune. It is certainly not. This is also the first part of an ongoing campaign. Off the top of my head, I don't recall what the name of the next part, what the title of the next part is, and I don't believe it's a box set. Now, I could be wrong, but I know there is a continuation of this story because this is just the early days of the player characters and their house taking control of Arrakis. All right. On a scale of 1 to 10, let's swing on over to the other camera so I can share my review score. I like this a lot. I think this is really, really well put together. I love the cards. I think that's very cool. I even thought it was kind of interesting where it's like, oh, okay, so if your players succeed with this challenge, they've kind of earned this little benefit. So give them this card. So I kind of thought that's kind of cool as well. But I love how the important NPCs all have cards and all their relevant stats are on the back as well. So I will point out print's pretty small. So thankfully it's on a card that you can lift up and move closer to your face. But yeah, the print and everything, the text is all pretty small on these. So on a scale of 0 to 10, I give Dune Adventures in the Imperium, Agents of Dune, a 9 out of 10. I think if you've got any interest in the Dune role-playing game, Adventures in the Imperium, you really should check this out. Because, for one, it also includes that PDF of the core rulebook also. So you are getting that. I do have to mention, I think $81 is pricey for this box set. I would have liked to have seen it come in maybe around 60, 65. Okay, you do get that PDF, and I think off the top of my head, I think that PDF is like 25, 30 bucks. So there is that. But I'll tell you what, you can get the PDF alone over at DriveThruRPG for $20. And at $20, it is an absolute steal. Now, you don't get the core book with it. You'll get what's in the box digitally. But still, excellent. As Christopher points out, the dice must flow. Straight Kismet says, pumpkin spice amalo. Sweet. All right. So that is my review of Agents of Dune. So what is cooking the rest of the week? Well, it's RPGs, as I mentioned before, if you tuned in late. All throughout the month of October, every live stream features role-playing games. And throughout October, every day, a new review of a game at thegaminggang.com. So for the most part, we're going to be mainly doing role-playing game reviews on the videos. So tomorrow, I am going to share my thoughts about the second edition of the Doctor Who role-playing game, or I guess I should say it's Doctor Who, the role-playing game, from my friends over at Cubicle 7 Entertainment. So that is on the docket for tomorrow. Then on Wednesday, I'm going to review Cults of Cthulhu for my friends over at I almost said Cubicle 7, for my friends over at Chaosium Inc. So last week I reviewed A Time to Harvest. This week I will review Cults of Cthulhu. Fits in very nicely, seeing that it's October. We've got Halloween. I'm also going to be sharing a first look at some point. Crown of the Cobalt King. That's right. I got it from Paizo Inc. In fact, I got all of the Paizo stuff for the month, which arrived today. So very happy to see this. I guess that might mean we're going to get to see Kingmaker for Pathfinder 2nd Edition when that arrives. That I'm looking forward to having a chance to take a peek at. So going to take a look at this. And then I also have from Axion Spice, the Axion Library, which is for old school essentials. So I'm looking forward to take a peek at this because it's like 5 different old school essentials zines inside here. So lots of goodies, lots of stuff going on all throughout the month. So there was a question earlier about when is the 50-50 sale going to be. And if you weren't aware, last year for the Extra Life for Kids, since we had the pandemic and everything, we didn't do a live stream. We didn't do a marathon. But what I did is I did an auction. I did a 50-50 auction. So this year, I'm not going to do an auction. I'm just going to do a straight sale. And I am going to have at least a couple hundred items up for sale and rock bottom prices. So I'll give you an example. I've been reviewing the Castles and Crusades books. I'm going to have a set of 5 Castles and Crusades books as one of the items that is for sale. And once again, as it mentioned, rock bottom prices, and half of what comes in from that sale will be donated to Extra Life for Kids, because I highly doubt we're going to be doing a live stream for this year either. Although I had kind of kicked around maybe just doing like a live show for a few hours, maybe have some stuff that we'll take first looks at or something like that, because I would like to do something for the Extra Life for Kids Day. We'll find out. We'll see what's going on. Perkins Dearborn popped into chat saying that Axion Library will be cool. They're running OSE. Yeah, I've reviewed Old School Essentials, the classic rules, as well as the 2 advanced fantasy volumes. I really like it a lot. I think if you were looking for a retro clone, that's really the one to go for, especially if you're looking for a retro clone that's specifically BX. I think it is a very, very good fit. All right, Jason had to rock out. I'm going to rock out as well. So if you like this video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, ding that bell. It'll not only let you know when the Dispatch streams live Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday evenings at 7 p.m. Central right here on YouTube. I'll also let you know when I upload other videos, such as my review of Castles and Crusades, Monsters and Treasure from Troll Lord Games. And of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more that you won't find here on the YouTube channel, including the Gaming Gang October Spooktacular 2022, where each and every evening at 9 p.m. Central, you will find a new spooky old-time radio show that I kind of do a little introduction and a little outro for. And I'll tell you what, tomorrow night, it's going to be what I consider to be the scariest old-time radio show ever. Now, they're all good. Don't get me wrong. I'm not sharing a bunch of junk. But boy, I'm telling you, tomorrow, it's creepy. And I have shared it before on the previous Spooktaculars as well. Alrighty then. If you were watching live, thank you very much. Always appreciate that. If you took part in chat, well, hey, those are bonus points, bonus experience for you for not only keeping me company, but each other company. And of course, I know a lot of people out there, you don't have a chance to watch this live. Doesn't matter if you're watching live or on Memorex. I really do appreciate you taking time out of your busy life to check out any of the videos here on the channel. All right, everybody, enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time of day it is in your neck of the woods. I will be back tomorrow. And as always, here's hoping each and every one of you gets to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.
And now, folks, it's time to say goodnight. We sincerely appreciate your patronage and hope we've succeeded in bringing you an enjoyable evening of entertainment. Please drive home carefully and come back again soon. Good night.
Oh, hey, you're still here. That's okay. You don't have to leave just yet. In fact, why don't you subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel right here, or take a peek at the latest live stream, or even find out what YouTube recommends you check out from the channel. And of course, I'm Jeff McAleer. Thanks again for watching.